I am love. But, that includes darkness, that includes light, that includes demons, that includes angels, that includes ascended masters, that includes beggars. I am that I am. And it's, I knew that cognitively before, but now I'm really starting to know that cellularly, and learning how to embrace that. So who I was before, I was, a Korean LA party boy going through every single psychiatric condition, calling off his wedding in a manic episode. And who am I now? I am that I am. Chop wood, carry water.
Welcome, tribe. I'm Maya Rose.
And I'm Gerald Rogers. We're about to embark on another mind-expanding episode where we dive deep into the realms of psychedelics, sex, and the superconscious.
This is a transformational experience of healing, manifestation, increased clarity, flow, and alignment.
So join us on this sacred journey as we receive the codes of transformation from scientists and psychonauts, shamans, tantra masters, mystics, and more.
Together, we'll unravel the secrets of plant medicine, sex magic, and other tools to tap into higher states of consciousness.
So why are we here? To answer the call, to share our passions, and to be advocates for alternative healing.
So get ready for a ride that transcends the ordinary and leads you to the extraordinary, because living a legendary life is not just a choice.
It's a sacred adventure. So we are in for a treat today. I've been so excited to drop in with Dr. Samuel B. Lee, like one of the most inspiring people that I've gotten to know recently, and so impressed with his work around the heart protocol and all of the incredible and crazy. I almost said crazy, which kind of feels like the right word. It's crazy and incredible, the work you're up to in the world. And I know this conversation is going to be so juicy and so much wisdom shared. And one of the things I love about you, Dr. Samuel, is how often you use prayer as a way to usher in alignment and open up our hearts. And so I would love to just begin with that. Would you open us up with a prayer to invite us all into this experience together?
Absolutely, brother. All right. So I'm just going to set the frequency here with a few words. By the love of original, eternal source consciousness field, we have come, we have come. So I set a barrier now, the frequency of love, L-O-V-E. Love is all I need, all glory be to L-O-V-E on the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual plane around this podcast episode on all dimensions and all timelines to each and every single person that might be listening and tuning in. We set a white bubble of crystal light around this podcast. By the truth of original, eternal source consciousness field, we stand. We welcome in the truth, unadulterated, pure truth. For the truth will set us free, and we are free indeed. And all the soul wants is to be free, and freedom is our birthright. And for such an important, amazing inflection point in Mother Earth's history, she's crying out for the truth to be known and for freedom. So we welcome in the frequency of truth and freedom by the power of original eternal source consciousness field. We fly 144,000, have arrived. Stars in my mind have aligned. Go ahead now. It's time to shine. You are the light of the world. And so we step into our power unapologetically, unconditioned, unprogrammed, a unique oscillatory, vibratory of reflection of Almighty Living Creator Source flowing through us with every single breath. By the way of original eternal source, go I, by the grace of original eternal source consciousness field, all 75 trillion cells vibrating and oscillating with the frequency of grace, grace for each other, grace for ourselves, grace for Mother Earth, and grace. We are alive because of this frequency, experiencing this amazing divine dance because of the frequency of grace. So amazing grace, fill this place, put a smile on my face. Bless this amazing podcast episode. May it resonate and set people free for the liberation of all sentient beings, fulfillment of the own covenant, and creation of a new earth. We give gratitude in advance. Thy kingdom, queendom is coming now. Thy will is now being done on earth in this podcast as it is in the highest heavens. Taisha into Doe, Taisha into Doe, Taisha into Doe. Spoken as it is stated now, and so it is done. Rasa, ear, lotus for Christ. Surround this podcast now.
Mm. Mm. I love that. And tell me about your relationship with prayer and how like this this has evolved for you.
Yeah, when I was a kid, my dad was like a pastor of the Seventh Day Adventist Church, so I was taught kind of like the original Korean church pastor way, praying to God, our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. And really praying to God as if he's some type of figure outside of me, watching down from heaven above. Oh, be careful, little eyes, what you see. That type of God was instilled within me. I'm grateful for it. But as I got older and older and older, and I started realizing God is the energetic infrastructure that runs through me, that runs through all people, that runs through everything. And I stopped, I switched, I transitioned from praying like a beggar, please help me, please give me, please, deliver me, into this communion with this frequency that is flowing through me. And I stopped praying like a beggar, and I started realizing I'm praying like a lover, not to something outside of me, but to that which is within me, around me, for me, all around me. And with the frequency, I literally infuse it with my words, because in the beginning, God said, let there be light. Sound becomes light, and there's no time, only consciousness moving through different densities. So with every word I speak, I'm co-creating the reality of whatever it is in simultaneous time with the original sound. And then I started realizing Dr. Joe's work. And, Dr. Joe was like, when you infuse gratitude into it, it's the catalyst. That mind sends out an electric frequency and the heart sends out a magnetic frequency. And especially when you can kind of like start stimulating, the Kundalini and energies, dimension 1 through 9 at the bottom of the spine, tickling the rhomboid crystals in the third eye, the pineal gland, you start sending out this gamma brain waves frequency, 100 standard deviations of what is normally in the brain, having a brain orgasm with God, making love with God. And that's what I started realizing. All my life is a ceremony. All my life is a prayer. And then I kind of went through that time where it was like, transitioning into that knowing and in training my subconscious mind into that. And then eventually it just becomes, entrained in where, sometimes I forget as a human, but it's like, every breath is a prayer. No two alike. Each one is rare. Inhale 1 time for your mind, exhale 2 times. Vagus nerve, when the exhale is 2 times, as long as the inhale, the vagus nerve activates and it lets my body know I'm safe, and I drop into the present moment. And it's God making love with God. And the more present I am, the more subtleties, colors, noises I can tune into. And that is the frequency of God. That is my prayer. So it's kind of been this journey now. And now I feel like my higher self is kind of telling me, okay, have fun now. So it's just like, like having fun in whatever I'm doing in the moment, is more kind of like my prayer now. So it's been a constant evolution.
Really appreciate that. And even as you speak this, I feel inside of me this alchemization of my relationship with prayer. I grew up in a very strict religious, it was like a Mormon household where we were taught to kneel down, fold your arms, bow your head. Like it was like this very scripted type prayer that you would offer, basically, like you're saying, like begging this God figure to give us what we want, right? And forgive us for the things that we've done. And what I really feel as the remembrance that you're sharing right now is like what true prayer is. It's just realigning our frequency with God, reattuning ourselves with this infinite source energy that's all through us. And sometimes we just get disconnected from that. But true prayer is what tunes our heart back into that infinite power. And then it's not coming from that begging energy like you talked about, but it's almost like that commanding, like loving energy of, I am worthy of everything in the universe as a divine king, a divine, being, a divine sovereign expression of God's love. I am worthy of all of it. And my goal is just to attune myself so that I can actually open myself up to receive. And I love that wisdom there. It's so interesting. Like one of my favorite things is just understanding identity. What leads us to be who we are through different chapters of our life. And the power of transformation is really the power of really reclaiming a new identity for us. And so I would love to hear from you.
Yeah.
If you could introduce us to who Dr. Samuel was prior to the heart protocol and the work that you're doing right now versus who you are now, and give us kind of an introduction to these two different identities or expressions of you.
Yeah, for sure. I love that topic of identity. So who I was before, well, I was, a lot of different things, where I was sitting there in an office in LA, and literally I did my residency at Cedar Sinai. So that's like West Hollywood, where, if people got problems, they usually hang out in West Hollywood, and they throw you in at the residency. And so for about, 7 years, I was literally there. And, all of the world's problems would come and sit in front of me. And, I would sit there, and now I understand that there was a radiation of frequency, 5 to 15 feet coming from their heart, 5 to 15 feet coming from my heart. And I was sitting there listening, trying to understand, and I was blending fields with the entire world's problems. And I was trying to understand. I would literally just, my style was more asking questions to try to understand. And eventually they came to a point, as I was doing that, at the simultaneous time, I was actually in my personal life going through every single psychiatric condition. So I went through major depression 3 or 4 times. I went through, what people call mania, severe social anxiety, severe PTSD. I couldn't even get out, like, you know what I mean? So it was like understanding them. And at this point in my life, I could literally sit in a talking circle. It doesn't matter if it's, the prostitute. It doesn't matter if it's the billionaire. It doesn't matter if it's the strict, religious upbringing it doesn't matter if it's paranoid schizophrenia. I've experienced that. And so literally, no matter who is in front of me talking to me, it's like, yo, me too. And that came to a point where I started identifying myself pretty much with every single thing, every single body. I can sit in the talking circle. And that was me. I was going through every single psychiatric condition, doing my best to show up and to develop compassion for humanity, which is me. And I started understanding, if I don't identify with it, I'm not even going to treat it as if it's a part of me. But I was blending my field, literally becoming one with everything. And so that was me before the heart protocol. And I sat there and I prayed and I asked God, these Western medicines aren't working. They're not treating the root cause. They're causing side effects, numbing the frontal lobe, the tuning fork that you just talked about tuning into. It's numbing that. It's numbing them so they can live in it. It's shutting down the second chakra 70% of the time. And there's not one proven study that the serotonin method is actually real. And I started understanding these things. I started working in, as an attending psychiatrist in the geriatric world, where, when our parents are sick, they send them to a skilled nursing facility, poor air, shitty food, and literally, and if they cry out, they're crying out for help. Literally, they call the psychiatrist and give them more psych meds, and they start numbing them, and they become zombies. And that's how they're transitioning out of this life. And so I started realizing the system. I was going through it, started developing the compassion, and then eventually, I had to heal myself. So 2 weeks before I was about to become, an attending, a part owner, a partner at one of LA's biggest psychiatric hospital firms, I learned about intuition. I learned about meditation. I learned that the mind will follow the breath, or the breath will follow the mind. So I started meditating at lunch instead of eating lunch. And one day, 2 weeks before I'm about to become a partner, I hear, it's not my mind. The mind is noisy and goes back and forth. This was like a clear, direct cognition knowing coming from my soul, the fourth, fifth, and sixth stranded DNA, the superconscious mind, saying, today you quit your job. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I just double checked that. And I was like, yo, it's not my mind. So I went upstairs, wrote my 2 weeks notice. And, at the time I met a spiritual teacher, Dr. Levy, shout out, who gave me a spiritual practice. And I started going to the beach, pumping Kundalini for 2 hours a day and just praying for the liberation of all sentient beings and the fulfillment of their own covenant, creation of a new global paradigm of mental health that give me something that really works. And long story short, sending out the signal, now we know the science behind it. And, one thing led to another. And this guy has a vision of me out in Tennessee. And, he says, brother, we've had a vision of you, and we have this protocol. And I was told to go out there, so I went out there. And I've, at this time, to try to heal myself, I've tried ayahuasca, I've tried psilocybin, I became a yoga teacher, I tried kundalini, I tried all these different things. And the first time I dropped in to what we're calling the heart protocol, some people call it clairgenics, the clearest connection that I've ever had with this ancient badass part of me that had access to information beyond space or time. It showed me I was bilocating as a Tibetan monk in Tibet simultaneously. And then the cool thing is your higher self comes online, but your lower self is also online, and you can record it. It's a multi-dimensional soul transcript. So everybody's different. Each soul is unique, but like I just started saying things, and I morphed, my voice changed, and I started saying things which with complete confidence. And some of the things I said 5 years ago are just starting to happen now. And so who I was before, I was a psychiatrist who was trying to heal. And then who I was after was like, here's this protocol, and we're seeing what sometimes what Western science calls miracles. And but I'm trying to understand the science behind it. So who am I after? It's literally catapulted me onto my highest destiny. I mean, life has just become something that I can never even script. And, be careful what you pray for, because the universe is listening. And if you're serious enough about it and don't give up and hold a steady intention, it will literally start sending to you everything you need to accomplish the intention. And so I keep praying for the liberation of all sentient beings. And now, I'm starting to, I facilitated the heart protocol around the world for the last 4 years, 5 years. And, I'm starting to just listen as people's soul tell themselves different things. And I'm starting to connect the dots, and I'm starting to realize, oh, okay, source is really honoring this intention. I'm starting to meet other people now who are, resonating that we're creating a brand new timeline for humanity that has never been tried before, where we're creating laterality, where this ancient wisdom and ancient wisdom keepers who was reserved only for them. Now this wisdom through, and we've done it by law. We've done it in a way that is in coherence with the laws of the universe. So who I am now, the only answer I can give now is I am love. But, that includes darkness. That includes light. That includes demons. That includes angels. That includes ascended masters. That includes beggars. I am that I am. And it's, I knew that cognitively before, but now I'm really starting to know that cellularly, and learning how to embrace that. So who I was before, I was, a Korean LA party boy going through every single psychiatric condition, calling off his wedding in a manic episode. And who am I now? I am that I am. Chop wood, carry water.
I love that perspective. It's so beautiful. I remember, I think my first experience with this experience of oneness, the unified field, whatever it might be called, this idea that I am interconnected with all things. It had always been this thought or this idea, it's like I'd heard this concept, thought about it, but like it didn't actually land, because I was pretty rooted in separation. Maybe I still am in a lot of ways. But there was a psilocybin journey I did down in Costa Rica, and I dropped in, and I remember I was out under the stars, actually in a swimming pool, and I was just like basking in like the energy of the entire universe, and like the energy of this particular journey was really intense. But there was this moment where I felt my consciousness transcend whatever this physical reality of who Gerald is. Like it's just like I felt it like expand, and all of a sudden I felt what it was like to be a little beggar child in India. I felt what it felt like to be a sultan, in a palace. I felt like what it felt like to be a doctor in a busy, hospital in New York City. I felt like my consciousness just kept like traveling to all these different like parts of humanity and experiencing what that is like to be those individuals of the, of the collective whole. And then I experienced what it was like to be, a Jew in the Holocaust.
Wow.
And I got to experience what it was like to be Hitler. It was like, just like feeling like all of it, the darkness, the light, the sadness, the sorrow, the joy, like to feel. it's all part of this, like this cosmic experience that we've all chosen into. And yeah, it shifted me, the way that I see my brothers and sisters. It shifted the way that I see people I perceive to be villains, and shifted the way that I perceive people that I perceive to be victims. It's just like, oh, it's like we're all in this together.
Yeah.
And I am so excited to experience your heart protocol. Like, there's few medicine experiences that have called to me as much as that. And so I want to dedicate some time to introduce people to that work. Once again, I haven't experienced yet. We're going to do another podcast on the other side after I have, where I can share my experience.
Cool.
I've done so many different magical journeys that have helped me open up my heart and tune myself into my higher self, activate my super conscious. That's why this is called the psychedelic sex and the super conscious. It's just all about strategies of how to like align ourselves with this higher mind. And that's what you do, right? It's, I think, the ultimate medicine, for the soul is to help people remember who they are at a higher level, and so I want to give you an opportunity to share the evolution of the heart protocol, like where this came into your life, how it came as a calling, and introduce us to what that path looks like, to go through the heart protocol. Yeah, I would love to dedicate some time to hear about that.
Yeah, appreciate it, Gerald. Yeah, it came into my life, when I was in Sedona, and I was just praying for the liberation of all sentient beings, and do my practice to quiet my mind, and through synchronicities, a guy had a vision of me, and he said, "Yo, like, we normally charge people this much, but we're going to invite you out here for free." And I, as I always do, I just tune into my guides, and they're like, "Go." So I went out there, and like I said, when I've tried all the different plant medicines, but for me personally, when I dropped into this one, it was different. Some people call it clairogenics rather than hallucinogenics. It's another term that some people are using because they say that the frequency that comes in is sometimes clearer than a hallucinogenic journey. And there's a whole backstory and different myths about how this protocol came to be. I don't know exactly which one is the complete truth, but I've heard many, many, many different things. Some people say, Shulgin, who wrote Pikal and Tikal, left behind a secret notebook, and it was not taken by anybody because he thought that this protocol was going to be, I don't know, have a chance to save humanity. And that's how I was introduced to it. But the person who introduced me to it, like, literally told me, "Hey man, we've had a vision of Earth. On Earth, there are these bright lights. These bright lights are giant souls. They think they're on Earth to be a mom, a billionaire, a soccer club owner, whatever, a Hollywood celebrity, whatever. Utilize this protocol, wake up the giants, and the giants will wake up humanity," is what I was told. So I was like, cool story, because there's a lot of different kind of stories behind it, and I didn't know, and so I just lived there though, for about 9 months, and sure enough, at this little small town, here comes these interesting people from all around the world, and now I've tried, a lot of different healing modalities and technologies, but this was different because it was their own voice, and not always, nothing's 100%, but like, it was their own voice telling themselves, "Start this charity. These are your 12 people in Hollywood. This is what you're going to do." And so it was, but I just sat there and I was just listening and the cool thing is you can record it. So their own voice is telling themselves, showing future potentials. Because when you connect to this space, you're not connecting to a plant. You're connecting directly. The intention is to connect the person directly to what Freud called the superconscious mind, which is the fourth, fifth, and sixth stranded DNA, according to quantum morphogenetic physics. New Agers would call it the soul, a carbon crystalline, less dense version of you, and each is a bandwidth of frequency. And so the seventh, eighth, ninth stranded is the oversoul. So from my understanding, the consciousness is leaving the body, and the body is protected, and it has the ability to show you. And the superconscious mind literally stores the purpose. So some people in my ceremonies, they'll remember exactly the moment where they chose to come to Earth. So if it wants to show you that, it can show you that. And literally your purpose, why I decided to come to learn this or whatever it is. But eventually, like, it can show you anything. If it wants to take you to your mom's past life because I'm having trouble forgiving my mom, and show me exactly through her lens everything she went through in her life, then I can develop compassion, say, oh, I get it, mom, shit, I forgive you. So it's very intelligent in the way that it understands it can't hurt you. And so plant medicine is beautiful and amazing. And it has, every, plant medicine has its own way of teaching, but your higher self literally has its own way of teaching. And there's like this 3, 4, 5 hour period where you have access to this part of you. About 70% of people talk, 30% of people don't. And so I lived there for about 8, 9 months in this small little town where I was learning how to facilitate. And the funny thing is, in my second heart protocol ever, like I had just arrived and I was told to drop in by myself. So I did. And, I had just arrived. And, it was like I said you're in a space where your higher self is channeling through you sometimes, and you're recording it. So I was like, you're going to leave Tennessee. And I said some things that I don't even feel comfortable repeating right now. But I said some things, and this part of me was just channeling and saying things, showing me future potentials. And, that was about 4 or 5 years ago, but it told me I was going to leave. Sure enough, 9 months later, I left, and almost every single thing that I said is slowly starting to happen. It said, oh, I'm seeing healing centers, Bali, Portugal, Ibiza. So, it wanted to show me future potentials that depend upon free will action. And the cool thing is, like, I have this contract with this medicine now, and my duty is to keep what is sacred, sacred. And I've been traveling around facilitating for different people. I've come to release all expectations, even attachment to the mission. I had to release because I was so attached to the mission before. But like, I get to listen, and a psychiatrist's job is to keep other people's secrets. So I'm just sitting there listening as these people are telling themselves, potential future politicians, potential future people in the music industry, potential future people. And I'm just listening, and I'm starting to connect the dots. A lot of people are seeing councils of 12 on high frequency grid points around the world. Sometimes people will locate crystals underneath the earth. Sometimes, and like we're all up there communicating, and, things have gotten really interesting recently, where I'm starting to meet other people, like bringing down new plasma Christ consciousness codes for humanity that have never existed before, or have never been here before. And like, so things are starting to get really interesting, where it feels like there's a group of us who are intending to create a brand new timeline for humanity that has never been attempted to before, to create laterality and holarchy. And there's a specific quantum morphogenetic physics on how to do that. You have to lift the frequency of Mother Earth on high frequency grid points. And so, different healing centers, and creating a decentralized system for humanity so that future generations can come, our children, and abide by a system that is, conducive to the original intention of Source, which is freedom and play and, exploring to learn more about itself in a safe environment. So, it's been fun. It's been interesting. And now, like, for me, like, the message is just completely let go. And that's what I'm really intending, is just even letting go of the mission, even letting go of the vision, and just learning how to be present, and hopefully having some fun.
Yeah. There's such power in surrender. It's interesting, especially for people that, like me, and I feel like you have been too. It's just like, we're so mission driven. We're so like solution focused. We're so like, like in some ways our identity is built on being of massive value to the world, to humanity, to individuals. And so there's almost like this inherent energy of like, okay, it's our job. It's our job to fix the planet. It's our job to heal, our families. And there's something really beautiful about that. But it's also like this really heavy weight that's in some ways is still entangled with the energy of there's something broken, right? It's almost entangled with this energy that we're the ones that have to fix whatever's broken. But in some ways, we put energy into the problem the moment we hold that idea, that frequency. And so I love this idea of surrender, and just like trust is like being able to be a conduit or a vessel, or a hand for source to use, but not coming from the energy of needing to prove our value by fixing something. I don't know if that's.
And I mean, that resonates deep. I mean, that's a really deep truth, I feel like, that you're speaking of, because I mean, I feel like a lot of us especially purposely choose to be born into a family where, we receive love from our father, perhaps through this achieving, being number one in our sports, or being number one, in whatever form of validity that our mother or father would give us. Patterns as little children. By the age of 7, it's ingrained into our subconscious mind, whether you come from a poor family and that drives you to want to create wealth, or whatever it is. I receive love for being a good kid at church, or whatever it is, right? And that drives us, because that's ingrained in our subconscious mind, and literally it drives us exactly what you were talking about, this mission, value. I have to add value. I have to create the new earth. And like there's something, and you're right, at the core of that, there's a core belief that something's wrong with humanity. And depending on the consciousness level that you look at that perspective from, for the longest time, I probably subconsciously believe, like, oh, there's demons. Oh my God, the Illuminati, the educational system, the hospital system, the medical system, every system is run by these, 8 or 9 families or whatever. And you start learning the truth. And in the beginning, the truth starts pissing you off. It's like, whoa, like what's going on here? Like what, what are they doing? And then eventually though, your paradigm gets blown apart, and you keep going in for truth, layers on layers to this love consciousness. And then eventually, like, you get to this point where it's like, actually, there's nothing wrong. There's no light without dark. There's no good or bad. And it's this fine dance. Then it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like, what do I want to create? What am I going to put my energy on? And then eventually, even like, I think through these, peak experiences, and through these dark experiences and low valleys and dense experiences, eventually coming to the point where it's like, I trust source so much. There's nothing wrong.
Yeah.
There's nothing
wrong. It's like so many people, I feel like, and I would say from my previous self too, is like, we're addicted to struggle. Like we believe that there has to be a struggle, there has to be a fight. And in that addiction to struggle, you were always looking for what's wrong and what needs to be fixed. But in order for something to be fixed, there always has to be a problem. So we're always like searching, or sometimes subconsciously creating problems so that we can have our need for struggle met. And I think this is the core of what I would call shadow work is, for me, what shadow work is like finding all of these parts of internal struggle, all of these parts of judgment and hate and anger, and like all of these things that I just place so much judgment on, whether I judge them in someone else or I judge them within myself, finding them within me, and then wrapping those things so intentionally in the field of unconditional love, where there was nothing more to fight, right? There was nothing more to judge, because I love those parts of me. And there was a really bizarre experience I had at a soul level after I like really immersed myself in shadow work, where all of a sudden I no longer felt like I was coming from a separation. I no longer felt like I was divided against myself. I no longer felt like there was something inside of me that was so evil and so wrong that I needed to fight against and change it. Instead, just got wrapped in this field of unconditional love, where it's just like, oh, it's all perfect. And then my soul just relaxed for the first time, and I dropped all the defenses, and I got to simultaneously, for the first time, experience my ultimate divinity and my humanity wrapped into one beautiful package.
Yeah.
And it was so liberating in all these ways, where my energy was no longer invested into the struggle. It was invested into like the being of being able to be connected in the moment to where I was at.
Absolutely, brother. And man, that's the work. And you delved in, and literally it's the DNA that's projecting the hologram. Like literally what is inside of me, literally my DNA is projecting my hologram on 5 different layers. And so, as within, so without. And so like as I dig into my layers, and I love, as you said, and I've been even working with these days, like the law of, polarity is like, yeah, if there's unconditional love, there's a conditional love. Oh, I'm both. I'm strong implies I'm weak. I'm light implies I'm dark. And then and then we go into these spaces where, I feel like, especially in past lives, we've gone into the cave and we purified our hologram and our DNA. And then I feel like for me personally, what I'm being asked to do right now, because I'm also part of the collective consciousness. And in the collective consciousness, there's Democrat, Republic. There's all these different kind of choose, different things going on in the 3D hologram. And, I love the 5D. I love the 12D. I love blasting. But at the same time, my soul is asking me right now, okay, come back in, play the game. Here's the rules to the game. You've gone, you've purified, you've done all that. Okay, cool. But now, you know what I mean? Like, can you also keep it real with this side of me, that not only am I the shadow, not only what I resist persists, what I judge, but I am that.
Yeah.
Play the game. And so I've been kind of like really tuning into what that is for me as I enter back into the rules of the 3D, and understanding where collective consciousness is, understanding what my intention is, where I feel like we want to go, but understanding also that in order to shift into a new timeline for humanity, it's the attention of the people, what collective consciousness agrees upon. They agree upon that this little piece of paper, this money, then that's what they agree upon. So we can create the decentralized system, but you need the attention of the people. And that's where I feel like, what I want to do, having fun, is what I want to try to create, is to create, partnerships and relationships and trust with influencers and different people, and become one, continue to speak my truth and love. And then literally at the right time, as you're creating a decentralized, system, then you have to take the attention of the people, lift the frequency of Mother Earth through these high frequency grid points and collective common intentionality, and then shift into this new timeline through collective consciousness, what they agree upon. And, once there's bread in the house of bread, people will come. And so once they know, hey, I don't have to be Democrat or Republic, but there's this new system and there's bread there, and then we can get the attention of people, then we can shift into that. And so I'm in that stage right now, though, where I'm going into the dark on purpose. Yeah. So
I love that idea of going into the dark on purpose. And I've really contemplated a lot about this idea of the power of unknowing, the power of releasing our attachment to having it figured out. Because I think in our paradigm of knowing, we've created so much separation, right? Like the world that we've known up till now has been built around Democrat and Republican, fighting against this, fighting against that. Like there's a lot of inherent separation built into what we've known, as a society, what we've known as a culture, and what we know individually, and the courage to unknow is really the power of wisdom, right? The courage to let go of what we perceive to be true or right, and to step into that darkness and that curiosity as we reinvent. It's almost like, I really feel like collectively as humanity, we're like more and more stepping through this journey of where we've been this like caterpillar that's been crawling along, and it's just like this world of politics, this world of, financial monetary capitalism. This world is like, it's just how we've grown up, right? How we've developed. And there's something about it that is just not working the way that we perceive that it used to. I think more and more of us is like, this whole system is bullshit. Like, this is crazy. How did we get trapped into this paradigm, right? And this whole like election process this year is like, what the fuck? Like, of all the people in the world, this is who we have to choose from? Like, what is happening? And I think, even like, as strange a chapter as COVID was, it just like accelerated this awareness of like the brokenness of these many systems. And in that, we're like, more and more of us, especially those of us that, are pursuing consciousness, are stepping into this unknowing. It's like, we don't know, and we can't know what the new earth is supposed to look like.
Yeah.
And we're not supposed to. We just need to lean into the unknowing of recognizing that what has been or who we've been no longer works. And then it's that caterpillar that enters into the cocoon where it becomes primordial goo, and where, it becomes a pure potentiality again. And that unwinding of identity is one of the scariest and most, terrifying things we can do. But the courage to know is where true wisdom is held. So what does that look like for you? What does that look like to step into the dark? What does that look like to release your attachment?
Yeah, I mean, I love that. For me, there's different kinds of stages that I've been through. And so, I was probably in a cocoon for a long period of time, and that struggle for the, creation of a new global paradigm in health, was driving me, and I was struggling every morning to spread those wings and to create a new earth. And then eventually you get to that place where you were talking about, is like, oh, okay, like, yeah, it's pure potentiality. And like, you know what I mean? Like, I can put intention and words behind it, but like, and then you have those moments where you come out of the cocoon and you're literally like, oh, I made it. I'm done. Yeah, I'm a blue butterfly, man. My throat chakra open, and you're flying around and life is good. And then you know what I mean? Like, and then I started realizing chop wood, carry water. And like now, I think for me, it's this great love of source that continues to drive me. It's this great love of source that decides to come to this earth where there's duality and density, and to forget who the fuck you are, literally forget that you are an eternal soul, and experience all of the, what humanity has gone through, every single psychiatric condition, severe PTSD, and some of the greatest souls allow them to go through that for this great love of source, because we understand that he who has been forgiven much can love much. She who has been to the darkest of the darks, been raped, and literally been through the Holocaust and been through all of these things, can appreciate the light all the more. And there's layers to light and there's layers to darkness. And he who has been to the darkness can appreciate the light and develop the keys to the consciousness. For example, like, for my previous kind of life, I was going through every single psychiatric condition and learning how to love myself, forgive myself, obtain the keys to the consciousness, not only for myself, so I can speak to my patients from my heart, but not only that, like, when one person figures out the 4-minute mile, the other person figures out everybody can do it. It's in the quantum field. So for every little boy and girl, pave a way out of Hades, went to the belly of the beast on purpose. And that's what they say about Jesus. He took the keys of Hades and he created a quantum potential straight through. And when one person embodies their 12-stranded DNA level avatar, gives permission for everybody to do that. And it paves a quantum potential for everybody to do that. And so there's layers to light, in which for a long time I preferred light, and I would only go into light and love light and peace, love light and peace and truth. And now I'm realizing also, okay, like, I used to hate trap music. I couldn't even like listen to it, the way that they talk about women and, all those different things. But like now, I'm like, when they play that at the yoga studio, before like, I used to like, or whatever, I'm literally tuning in. I am that. I'm all that. And so that's kind of like where I'm at right now, is like literally tuning in. And there was a period, like probably for like 7 years, on a mission to have the highest frequency that ever lived. I was like, that would motivate me. So, well, like literally, like starting like three weeks ago, I just went into this period where
that's what we call competitive spirituality.
Yeah. Quite funny now when I think about it, but you know, yeah, and like just 3 weeks ago, I was like, I'm going to experience density. I'm going to allow myself to experience density. And I did some dense stuff. And I allowed myself to do dense stuff. And I was like, oh, this is what density feels like. Oh, okay, there's those negative thoughts again. Oh, that's what happens when I go into density. Cool. I am also that. Like, I feel like for me, I feel every step that anybody takes previously in their life is preparing them for what's to come. And so, like I said, like, I feel some of us are going to like intend and choose to go into density and darkness and literally be able to create, if you want to call it, a type of revolution there, where I can look, and then be able to form, if you want to say, the influence there, where you can literally take that influence and energy and attention and timeline shift as I'm on the side, create, partnering with people who are creating a decentralized system to timeline shift into. So that's kind of the game I'm playing right now.
Sounds like an amazing game. I love that so much. And I love this dance that the Heart Protocol creates, where we get to like tune into our highest self. There's like my favorite thing about the work I do, whether I'm teaching events or leading seminars or guiding ceremonies, is like this moment where source speaks through me and I clearly know it's not me, right? Like I know it's just like not Gerald speaking, but there's like this wisdom that flows through, and it's like really beautiful. But there was this one particular moment I was guiding this process at one of our breakthrough seminars, and I shared this quote that just like it just landed like really deep inside of me. And as I was channeling this, I just paused and I said, all problems come from forgetting who we are. All problems come from forgetting who we are. I was like, is that true? And I thought about it. It's so true. Like when we get disconnected from our highest self, when we get disconnected from our sacred self, when we get disconnected from our true self, then problems are the things that we generate from our forgetting. And the work that you do through the Heart Protocol of getting people tuned in through their superconscious to activate like this Wi-Fi network so they can tap into this infinite field of wisdom that they have access to, that is the most sacred and important and healing work on the planet, without question. Because if all problems come from forgetting who we are, then all solutions arise from remembering. And the Heart Protocol seems like one of the most potent tools on the planet for that remembrance and for that alignment, and for people like really hear at a super conscious level, like what their soul is trying to speak into them.
100%. And I resonate with exactly what you said. And that's it. What I'm really trying to do is, all of us is to remember who we are. That's it. And so this whole system that is set up in a horizontal manner, like the whole health system, like treat the proteins, treat the symptoms, band-aid the symptoms, treat the serotonin, optimize the dopamine, or whatever it is, cool, important too, physical, but it's the metaphysical. And with literally one session of connecting to this part of you, so what I'm really intending to do is create a new health model where it's, instead of first focusing on horizontal, get rid of the cancer. No, first focus on vertical, the metaphysical, thoughts, words, beliefs, attitudes, superconscious mind. Connect with that part first and literally offer that to people as rites of passages. And like, man, if I would have done the Heart Protocol at the age of 20 instead of 35, like it would have saved my liver. It would have saved $10,000s of dollars of wasted money, because like that's what consciousness does. It naturally starts realigning the mental body. It starts clearing out the trauma. You see what is called miracles every day. It stores your purpose. When people have purpose, they want to be present. That there goes anxiety, because anxiety is when your mind is somewhere else, not in the present moment. There goes depression, because you have a purpose. You want to be here, and literally it's that's it. And like, it's there, and everybody can access that. And that's why, like, for me, I feel grateful every single day. Been doing this for 4 or 5 years, but like, yeah, in the middle of a psychedelic revolution, like, thank you, like, for trusting me to hold the space with this medicine for people's souls. And for me personally, it's like, I don't feel like there's a greater honor on the planet from my perspective than to hold space for someone's soul. And I get to do that for a living, kind of. In the middle of a psychedelic revolution, in the middle of a really important inflection point in humanity's history, from my perspective. Yeah, and it's been wild. It's been fun, humbling.
What a sacred calling, what a sacred calling it is to have the protocol, or have these medicines like use you, to heal people at a really fundamental level. And I just want to honor you for that, because I know it's a courageous and it's a big journey, and I know it's taken a lot for you, through the steps that you've taken to get to where you're at. And I'm excited for you in this new chapter of surrender, and this new chapter of stepping into the darkness and opening yourself up, because I really feel like there's even deeper levels of potency of who Samuel B. Lee gets to be in the world, and for himself, but also for those that are called into your space. I really love that. We just have a couple minutes as we wrap up, and so I just want to take a moment and just pause and see what's present, like for the people that are listening. And by the way, for you that are listening, thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking this time with us. Thank you so much for opening your heart. Thank you so much for taking energy from your life and being part of this experience with us. It means so much. We're sending you so much love wherever you're at, and whatever you're doing right now. May you feel how important you are and that you matter. Dr. Samuel, I want to have you tune in and see what final messages are wanting to be spoken through you to whoever's hearing your frequency right now.
Yeah, I just want to add resonance and intention to the words you just spoke. For me, what's coming through for me right now is just, this is, if I had one message, it's this. Take a look inside, and you will find you are who you've been looking for the whole damn time. You want to see an angel? Activate your 6th DNA strand, look in the mirror. You want to see a Christ? Activate your 10th DNA strand, look in the mirror. You want to see a Buddha? Activate your 11th DNA strand, look in the mirror. You want to see and enter into pure nirvana and God, making love with God's sacred energy exchange at all times, as you activate your nirvanic mind, 12th DNA strand. And I just want to say there's layers on layers to what Jesus called the Father, whatever you want to call it. All that is consciousness, the intelligent energy that is flowing through us with each breath. There's layers on layers to this love, to this intelligence, to this multidimensional wisdom, which is us. And, you are who you've been looking for. Every single thing we need is inside of us. The belief in lack is the root cause of all suffering. And if, there is no lack, because we are the abundance. And so just want to send this message and resonate with, what Brother Gerald's saying. And, love yourself. That is the message. Love yourself. We are all one. And I feel like the time that's going to come, the next 5 to 10 years. I mean, I tend to believe that there are ancient souls who've never incarnated on earth before, who are literally lining up and hanging around sacred wombs right now, wanting and desiring. There's a line wanting to come in right now, because for me, from my perspective, there's never been a greater time to be alive. And what we're in for the next 5 to 10 years is going to be a journey. It's going to be fun. It's going to be everything. And so, what I'll say is just hopefully develop a practice where you're connected to God, your higher self, and make that hopefully a practice for you. And once you have that, don't worry. But I'm excited to see what's going to come here in the next 5 to 10 years.
It's so beautiful. Thank you so much. I am just letting that sink in. Yeah, what a gift. What a gift it is to just take time to slow down, to remember, and to have these sacred soul conversations. Thank you so much for opening up your field of wisdom to be a conduit for us. Like, I really received that. I'm really grateful for that. And I'm really excited for just ways that we get to continue to collaborate. Like, it's so interesting. I find, like, witnessing these divine synchronicities happen in life.
Mm.
And as you know, Dr. Samuel, I've had so many of these visions of setting up these 12 temples, and gathering our council of 12 for the alliance. And like, there's all these like synchronicities that are like so much in alignment. And like, we're always talking about the super conscious. And then all of a sudden you come into my life and this is like the language you speak and everything you're calling in. I'm like, oh, like it just makes sense that our frequencies would catch up to each other, And so,
absolutely, brother. No accidents. And then, thank you, brother. Thank you. I see you. Appreciate you. Love you. Thank you for your journey and for who you are, and for being born. And let's fucking go. Let's rock.
Let's fucking go. All right. I love you guys so much. Just remember, this is your life. Make it legendary. Keep joining us on Psychedelics, Sex, and the Superconscious. We'll see you guys soon.
Thank you, legendary explorers, for joining us on this cosmic journey today.
Your curiosity fuels our exploration of psychedelics, sex, and the superconscious.
If you're hungry for more, dive into our website and connect with us on social media. All the links are in the show notes.
And stay tuned for our next mind-expanding episode. We can't wait to talk to you again in our next adventure.
Until then, remember, this is your life. So,
make it legendary.